Oh, all right, guys. We are at one of my favorite sections, most complex sections. It's virtual domains, or AKA VDOMs. Okay. Um, Not so much complex. It's only complex if you make it complex. All right. I'm gonna try to make it as as easy as possible in my way, and hopefully it works. If it doesn't, give me feedback. But quick teaser, right? Remember, right? By default, firewall operates at layer 3. Okay, right? We learned, right? A FortiGate operates in NAT mode. Okay, network address translation mode. Right? That means layer 3. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and jump on in and talk about some fundamentals and concepts of VDOMs. Right. I already know what you guys are going to learn. So let's just talk about it because I'm excited. Right. So we look at the FortiGate on the screen. See a FortiGate, right? Out of the box, we just have one firewall that's going to service our network, right? It is one security domain. Okay, one security domain, similar to a switch, right? A switch out of the box, it has one VLAN, which means it has one broadcast domain. Okay, all right. But with VDOMs, right, similar to uh, with the purpose of VLANs, right, at layer 2, is that there is a feature, right, that now you can split up one device to be multiple devices virtually. Okay. And so out of the box, FortiGate has one security domain. Okay. With VDOMs, you can operate has multiple security domains or multiple FortiGates on one device. Okay. Right. Now, you guys are probably thinking, okay, what is the purpose of this, right? Maybe you want to go ahead and divide your policies and administrators for different firewalls, right? For different VDOMs, right? Maybe you have different use cases for different customers, right? Maybe for your own network, right? You have, hey, I want this traffic, maybe the traffic for the engineering team to go through here. They have a dedicated, security domain. Another team, maybe the sales team, have their own dedicated, because maybe for security purposes, right, audit purposes, they can only data cannot touch each other. Okay, so and of course we want to allow traffic for certain data that's passing in and out. And so one, they can't touch each other. Two, we need to go ahead and make sure that we allow certain traffic, right? We don't want that traffic to touch, right? Whatever use it is, whatever use it's for the virtual domains or the VDOMs, right? Essentially, you can go ahead and split up your one FortiGate that you bought into multiple FortiGates virtually. Okay. All right. Each virtual FortiGate, each VDOM, right, is going to have its own firewall policies and its own routing tables, right? It's similar to virtual route forwarding, right? VRS. It's similar to that. It's similar to VLANs at layer 2. Okay. And of course, I know whenever we do lab day tomorrow, you guys will see it. It'll make a little bit more sense. But yes, that's how it works, right? Um, but right, and I want to talk about something fundamental that's I'm gonna try and make sense of it tomorrow, right? By default, okay, traffic from one VDOM, right, cannot go to a different VDOM. Okay, by default. Okay. What does that mean, right? So two interfaces, right, that are dedicated, that are in two different VDOMs. They can share the same IP address. Um, they can share the same IP address without any overlapping subnet problems. And the reason why they can do that because it's different FortiGates on one device, right? What do I mean by that? Okay, port one. Let's say we give it an IP address 6.4.2.1, right? That's part of VDOM 1. VDOM 2, right? We dedicate port 2 to it. We can also assign that to 6.4.2.1, right? Why? Because it's multiple security domains. Essentially, it's a different firewall. Okay, right? But all this is happening virtually. Okay. Again, at its core, when you guys implement VDOMs, one single Fortigate becomes a virtual data center of network security. UTMs, um, inspection, right? Secure device, and all those things, right? All the great buzzwords, right? It becomes multiple firewalls in one device. Okay. All right. So you can do your VDOMs in a few ways. You can arrange them however you like, right? This topology, you can see it, right? Let's say this is, my Kivia's network, right? She decided to go ahead and, split up these VDOMs, dedicate networks to them. We have VDOM 1, we'll call that sales, VDOM 2, engineering, VDOM 3, HR, okay? All right, and they're all, right? They're all connected to the internet. We don't see any connections between them. They just connected straight to the internet, right? So there's no inter VDOM links, right? So no traffic between VDOM isn't going to be possible unless it leaves the Fortigate, goes to the internet, right? It physically leaves the Fortigate and then comes back, right? Right? And so what scenario would this be perfect for? Again, like I told you guys, you guys have, let's say it's an MSP or an ISP. You have multiple customers, right? We buy a high-end Fortigate that's going to handle that traffic, right? But we're not going to buy multiple FortiGates for multiple customers. That's going to be a lot. No, we can just set up VDOMs, dedicate interfaces to them, and they just share that FortiGate, right? They have their own VDOMs, right? And it'll be just physically separated, right? Pretty cool. It's pretty cool stuff. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, I'll take that as enough. All right. So how does routing work, right? Through the VDOM, right? So previous slide you guys saw, right? Each network, right? Each VDOM, right? It sends its traffic through the VDOM, right? And then it's routed up to the internet, right? So let's break that down a little bit, right? The traffic is coming from network 1, right? We send it up to the VDOM, right? But what happens after that, right? We just, if we're the provider, we don't want to just have, right, multiple ISP. We're the ISP. We don't want to have multiple connections for multiple customers. Oh no, we got this shared device for a reason, right? So we're gonna go ahead, right, and have a internet VDOM. And this is just an example, but you can set it up however you like, right? Basically a VDOM that's dedicated for passing traffic out to the world or out to a specific network, because the wide area network is just another network, right? So you can, if you want to implement this in-house, you can do the same thing, right? And so with VDOMs that we set up, it's just another, again, another domain, right? And so you can dedicate one domain just for internet traffic, right? And say, hey, all traffic is going to be routed through another VDOM. So VDOMs are going to send traffic to another VDOM, right? And then that VDOM is going to send traffic out a single pipe, right? Again, same example, multiple customers sharing the same FortiGate, right? They got their own VDOM, right? But internet facing, right? That VDOM is going to go ahead, log traffic, pass traffic up, monitor traffic, use UTM inspection on those policies, right? And do all the things that come with the FortiGate. Okay. Again, those links will go to a different VDOM, right? But essentially, of course, in this scenario, you wouldn't interconnect VDOMs, right? But yes, you can do routing through a single VDOM. It's kind of complex. I'm going to show you guys during lab day, not to, yeah, tomorrow, because we're going to be going over how to configure VDOMs. But yes, yeah, pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. Now, I know you guys were going to ask, right? You saw that we can connect VDOMs, right? Now there is a possibility where we can go ahead and mesh all the VDOMs together that we created, right? So all VDOMs could talk to each other, right? right? Traffic's, in this example, traffic still flows through the internet VDOM, right? But if we have VDOMs, right, sales and engineering, right, they want to communicate with each other, they can. They can just go ahead and just, communicate. They're still separated. They still have to go through firewall policies, right? But it doesn't have to leave the FortiGate. Okay?
Okay, I have a question, David. I don't know if this is a dumb question, but
Nope.
so with the multiple VDOMs, is it all the same ISP? So like WAN 1 or WAN 2 for each VDOM or no?
That's so I don't want you to get tied to this example, right? And let's go back a slide. Hold on. So for this example, yes, they're all sharing the same ISP, right? In this sense, the ISP went ahead and said, "Hey, I have the circuit, right, with the circuit ID, right? You're going to send this traffic this way, right? But I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just responsible for moving the traffic. That's it, right? And I'm making sure me being your ISP is doing that, right? But as you guys are passing through me, I have a firewall in place. I'm going to inspect all your traffic. This is what you signed up for whenever you sign that contract, right? Because the ISP has to protect its own network as well, right? So ISP is going to provide internet. It needs to do that at a bare minimum, but it's going to split up customer traffic. Make sense?
Yes, it does.
You sure?
Yep, I'm sure.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Cool. 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 Now we talked about different VDOMs. We talked about um, interconnecting different VDOMs, not interconnecting different VDOMs, and creating a mesh, right? But right, there's different VDOM. There's another VDOM that we haven't talked about, right? We haven't talked about a VDOM to where it has to take care of traffic that's originating from the FortiGate, right? So what I mean by that, as far as traffic originating from the FortiGate, so we're talking about FortiGuard, right? Maybe we need to reach out to FortiGuard, get the latest UTM, signature updates, DNS filtering updates, send logs to our FortiAnalyzer, right? FortiManager, stuff like that. Reach out to, whatever we have set up as our NTP server, reach out to NTP servers and so on, right? All of those things, right, are management traffic, right? Those originate from the FortiGate. They don't pass through the FortiGate, okay? They originate, right? So, with that being said, whenever they were working on FortiGates and the creative FortiGate, said, hey, with allowing multiple VDOMs, right, or the creation of VDOMs, we are going to, at a bare bone level, have a management VDOM or a root VDOM in place to take care of traffic that is originating from the FortiGate. Okay. All right. So whenever, again, you create your first VDOM, and you say, hey, allow VDOMs, allow this feature, cool. There's going to be your new created VDOM, and you're also going to have your root VDOM. Okay. All right. But of course, your root VDOM, it can be reassigned to any VDOM in multi-VDOM mode, right? But again, it's recommended internet access is needed because, of course, it is now a host. Okay. It's now like a PC or a printer or what have you. It's now a host that needs traffic to speak to different services. Right, to get what it needs, right? It needs to speak to FortiGuard, it needs to speak to NTP servers, right? It needs to speak to FortiGuard for DNS filtering, right? And the FortiAnalyzer, it needs a connection. Okay. All right. So make sure whenever you're planning your, VDOM deployment, that you understand what you need, what you need to allocate, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So for the last example, right? My Kiwi, right? So we have, let me go to the first one, that's a little bit better. We would have all these VDOMs, right? But what you don't see, right, is Donovan went ahead and when he first deployed this, there's also a management VDOM here that's not shown, right? That takes care of us getting updated UTMs, everything from FortiGuard, upgraded signatures every 5 minutes or wherever we have available and so on. So all that is taken care of, right? So that's automatically going to be there whenever we go ahead and enable multi-VDOM mode. That makes sense?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right. So we're going to take a little break here. We're going to go over VDOM administrators, but I'm going to ask you guys 2 questions and just to see where you're at. Okay. So question 1, which traffic is always generated from the management VDOM? Is it A, link health monitor, or is it B, FortiGuard?
B, FortiGuard.
There we go. All right. Question 2, which statement about the management VDOM is true? Is it A, it is root by default and cannot be changed in multi-VDOM mode? Or is it B, it is root by default, but can be changed to any VDOM in multi-VDOM mode?
B.
You said B?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let's go ahead and keep rolling. So we are going to talk about, and I think this is going to help you guys, we're going to talk about VDOM administrators, right? You guys are probably thinking, what is that, right? So let's say, going with the same example, Mahivia and Donovan has now deployed a Fortigate with multiple VDOMs. We successfully done it, right? But now you have a NOC, you have a SOC, right? That's going to manage, right, this device. Okay, all right. But maybe one section of your SOC, they're manage VDOM A, right? Maybe another section of the SOC is going to manage VDOM B. Another section of the SOC is going to manage VDOM C. What you can do is create accounts, right, to manage specific VDOMs or to manage all the VDOMs. Make sense?
Yes.
The core thing here that I want you guys to take away from this, right, because it may come up in troubleshooting or if you have issues in the future. Only admin accounts with a super admin profile can configure and back up all VDOMs. Make sense? So it doesn't have to necessarily be the default admin account that comes out of the box with the Fortigate. The account just needs to have a super admin profile to manage all the VDOMs in the entire device. Make sense?
So I guess, just to kind of clarify, you would just configure them with an admin account if you wanted to pretty much specify which VDOM that they would manage amongst, like, for example, the SOC or the NOC. If you'll just give them a regular admin, but if you want a particular user to manage all of the accounts, they would be a super admin, or you can still have a super admin for just like the one VDOM, like VDOM A or VDOM B.
No, that's a good question, and we're going to go over that in further slides. But yes, essentially, super admin, that's globally to the FortiGate. You have access to everything, right? What you would do to maybe the SOC that's handling VDOM A or VDOM B or VDOM C, you would give them the administrator profile of either prof admin, right, or a custom profile, and you'll give them that profile. But what you will do, right, where the segmentation comes in, is that you're telling them, you would put on, whenever you create their account, what virtual domains they have access to.
Okay.
That's where the permit and deny comes in as far as access.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha. But we're gonna get into that in a few more slides. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. I think we already covered this. Of course. Per VDOM admins, we can go ahead and set that up. Super admin can manage all this stuff. Okay. So this is what Don was talking about, right? So we can go ahead, create the accounts, right? But you see what I mean as far as I said, prof admin, right?
Yep.
That's just a default profile, right? And that just means they have certain rules. essentially, right, what you want to do as a NSE is that you want to go ahead and learn how to make custom profiles, because of course in this scenario with VDOMs, you don't want to use anything default, because you want to mitigate what access, right, your team has, because of course with security, the law of least privilege, right, we want to make sure they have everything they need just to do their job and nothing more. Okay, so maybe they just need read access, maybe they just need to look at logs, maybe they just need to be able to change the NTP settings, or they just need to be able to do a whole bunch of things, right? You can go ahead and set that up manually, right? If you use the default profiles, it may give too much privilege to a user. You know what I mean? So that's a little career tidbit, but for the exam, learn about the different administrative profiles and know that you can go ahead and assign a specific virtual domain access to an administrator account. Make sense?
Yep.
And that account will you have to make sure you do not assign it to be a super admin, because they will have access to the entire Fortigate. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. With that being said, I got 2 questions, and we're going to pause here, and then we'll go ahead and tomorrow we'll go over configuring VDOMs in our lab. Okay. All right. So question 1. Which type of administrator can make changes to all VDOMs? Is it a custom VDOM administrator, or is it B, an administrator with the super admin profile?
B.
Super admin.
There we go. All right, question 2. Which statement about VDOM administrators is true? Is it A, there can only be one administrator per VDOM, or is it B, each VDOM can have multiple administrators?
B.
There we go. All right, guys. Any questions so far? I know that was a lot.
No, none that I can think of right now. No, I might have some tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. All good. All right, guys. You guys have a great night, okay?
All right, take care, guys. Bye.
Later.
Bye.